Hey guys, thanks for coming back to the Moon is Dead World's YouTube page. I'm Ryan from themooniseddeadworld.net, and I'm here with a review of Basket Case 2, which was recently released on Blu-Ray from Synapse Films, along with Basket Case 3. They kind of came out together, and they form a little collection of Blu-rays that we really haven't gotten for the Basket Case series yet. I have to confess, I'm not really a big fan of Basket Case 1. I have seen it, and I've only seen it one time, so I mean I can't really say that I've had much experience with it, but from what I saw of the first time I watched it, I wasn't a huge fan. I mean, I like Frank Henenlotter's work, and I did think that some of it was pretty funny, but at the same time it kind of grew old for me, and I didn't really think that anything about it was really spectacular. I know it has a place in a lot of horror fans' hearts, but for me, this guy, not really a huge fan of it. With that said, though, I was pleasantly surprised with Basket Case 2, and I was certainly excited to check out this series because I haven't seen Basket Case 2 or 3, and since I got it for Blu-ray, I was pretty excited to pop it in and see what everything was about in Basket Case 2. And where Frank Henenlotter could take the film from here. With Basket Case 2, he returns to one of his most successful films almost a decade later. Basket Case 1 was released in 1982, and it found grotesque humor as two brothers, one normal and one basket-ridden, thanks to a congenital deformity, attempted to figure out how to adapt to New York City life, while, also murdering people in gruesome and violent ways. The humor was kind of saddled with the shocks and political incorrectness for which Henenlotter came to be known later on, especially with some of his other film series like Frankenhooker. But this gory story of the tragically separated Siamese twins carried through even despite all of that gore. Basket Case 2 increases the number of freaks that the film features and the complexity of the storyline, again centering on Dwayne, who's played by Kevin Van Hentenryck, and his psychopathic brother Belial, as they find themselves new residents of their Aunt Granny Ruth's collection of deformed malcontents. Now, Henenlotter is certainly upping the ante from his previous film. He's introducing a coterie of new citizens who are similarly deformed like Belial. As Dwayne and Belial flee from the repercussions of their murderous rampage, they settle into Granny Ruth's abode in a couple different ways. Belial feels at home because he feels like he's in familiar company. He certainly gets along with the rest of the people that are a lot like him, and there's even one woman that is very similar to him, who also seems to be a separated Siamese twin. We don't really get a lot of backstory on that, but certainly Basket Case 2 makes use of her later on in the film, which I'll talk about in a little bit. Dwayne becomes enchanted with Granny Ruth's daughter, Susan, who's played by Heather Rattray. The family connection gives Henenlotter a chance to explore new deformities with gruesome aberrations, thanks to a special effects team who deliver with creations that really feel right at home alongside Belial's blobby, slimy texturing. It definitely feels like Henenlotter's crew has come up with new ways of kind of expanding on the ideas that he had in the first Basket Case, and now a decade later there's some more budget for special effects and some better techniques as well. In fact, those who enjoyed Basket Case simply because of the effects work will appreciate Henenlotter's exponential increase of freaky looking dudes with strange teeth, huge heads, and awkward gaits. And there's a lot of them in this one. There's probably, I would say, about 10 to 15 that we actively see throughout the film. And they definitely all have their own differences and changes to the way that normal bodies are structured. It's very interesting to see the kinds of ideas that they came up with and how they they worked with the human body. This time around for plot, Henenlotter has a wider scope than the previous film, and that presents some conflicting results. Dwayne and Belial are on the run from a tabloid reporter named Marcy, a woman who wants to get the scoop on the two Siamese twins and who's willing to risk her safety to do so. The subplot gives Henenlotter room to explore Dwayne in a bit more detail. He's sick of taking care of both himself and Belial. He's really, he's ready to get out of that lifestyle, to live his own life, which is something that he's never really had before, since he's always either been attached to Belial or taking care of him within the basket. So he's ready to kind of do away with all that, especially since Belial has kind of settled down at Granny Ruth's house. He's also really interested in sneaking away with Susan and starting a family without a deformity weighing him down. Although all of the story involving Marcy is a little sloppy and the plot shifts quite a bit unnecessarily to cover her search for Dwayne and Belial, it does lead to some of Basket Case 2's best thematic ideas. Henenlotter's plot is ridiculous, definitely. I mean, there's no denying that, especially when, in certain scenes where Belial attacks out of nowhere, all the special effects work, while good, is certainly quite ridiculous. It does bring up questions about how much Dwayne should have to devote his life to his brother's well-being. He never asked for this before. He's kind of born into it. And the film never hesitates to replay those scenes of him being born into it and his separation from his Siamese twin from the first film throughout this feature. I think we probably get at least 5 to 10 minutes of scenes that are flashback sequences to the previous film. It's interesting to see how Basket Case 2 treats its deformed characters, because it often has a sort of reverence for them, even as they're murdering people. Like Basket Case, Henenlotter wants the audience to feel some affiliation with Belial and the rest of Granny Ruth's troupe, but at the same time, it kind of also mocks them to generate some of the comedy. That tone is a little uneven, but Henenlotter eventually finds a nice resolution in the end. Resigned to live his life with the rest of the deformed people at Granny Ruth's house after realizing that Susan also has her own debilitating condition. She's kind of stuck with a stomach-bursting fetus that pops out at an inopportune time. It's kind of a cock block, but, what can he do? He decides to sew Belial back onto himself. So, instead of deciding to live his life apart from Belial, realizing that he really can't, instead, Dwayne and Belial again resume their life together as Siamese twins. And it's something that they kind of always have wanted anyway. At the beginning, in the first Basket Case, Dwayne didn't really want to be separated from Belial and vice versa. And that was the whole reasoning behind the first film. So it makes sense here that Dwayne will choose that lifestyle for himself rather than sneak away, especially when he can't be with Susan. He kind of rejects her from that, and that's a tough scene anyway. A little bit of unrequited love for Susan, unfortunately. Interestingly enough, Basket Case 2 is more enjoyable than its predecessor. I definitely enjoyed it a lot more than the first one. Part of that comes from the expanded cast of characters, both human and not so much. And from the film's more absurdly humorous gags, like its infamous sex scene, where we see Belial and Eve kind of humping their brains out, not really sure what parts are fitting where, but the film's not really focused on that aspect of it. It's just focused on putting as much, of that sex scene into the film to make it as awkward as possible for the viewer. And it's certainly a memorable one, I'll say that. But more importantly, the film's success is due to Henenlotter's ability to find an interesting human aspect to this story, with a theme that warrants more discussion than I would say Basket Case could deliver. Henenlotter's films aren't for everyone. You either like his comedy or you don't. But those that enjoy practical effects, gags, and splatter pictures will find the humor and more human element packaged within Basket Case 2's intentional shock value. So that's really, a good thing to have, and I think it expands further out than Basket Case 1. And I've got to admit, I haven't seen Basket Case 3 yet, so I'm kind of curious to see where Henenlotter goes from there, where he takes the film in a different direction. And it's named Progeny, so I'm assuming that has something to do with, Eve and Belial having children. So that'll be interesting to see what comes out of that, and where they come out of Eve. I'm kind of curious about that too. If you've seen Basket Case 2, let me know what you thought of it, because I certainly am curious to know how others feel about, both Basket Case 1 and Basket Case 2, and even if you want to throw in your opinion about Basket Case 3, I'm all ears. And what do you think about Henenlotter's other films? I think that he certainly, gets a lot of credit for his horror comedies, and I want to know if you think that's warranted. So let me know in the comment section. But first, I haven't talked about Synapse Blu-ray yet, which is, it's not a huge stocked full of special features like some of the other Blu-rays that they've released prior to this film. And actually, Basket Case 3, which I'll probably do a review of later on, that doesn't even have any special features besides the theatrical trailer. So I'm wondering if it just wasn't possible to get anything like that for the Synapse release or what. But with that said, the video looks really good. You can certainly notice how much the high definition transfer has done, especially when the film shows some of the moments from the first film, because then you can really see how good it looks now compared to what the original film looked like, especially with all the grainy textures and stuff that first film has. So that has a nice high definition transfer from the original 35mm camera negative. So there's definitely an increase in quality there. The audio gets a 2.0 stereo track, and that sounds really good. Except for the fact that it doesn't have any subtitles. I hate when releases don't have any subtitles, because I do love my subtitles. Sometimes I get yelled at for having the TV too loud. So the subtitles are a great way to kind of circumvent that, so I don't get in trouble for being too loud at night, because that's when I mostly watch these films anyway. Other than that, Basket Case 2 has a few special features. For one thing, it has new artwork commissioned from Joel Robinson. So his new piece looks really great. That's what's on the cover. But if you wanted to have that other, more generic, I would say, cover artwork from the original release, then that's also included as reversible cover artwork. For extras, there's a short interview with David Emge, who's the actor who plays Half Moon, one of the deformed people in Granny Ruth's troupe. So he talks about some time on set, what it was like with the makeup. It's only about 6 minutes long, so it's a quick watch. And the other extra is a behind-the-scenes featurette that is kind of poorly made. It's not new. This wasn't a new thing, but it was just included. But it does give some insight into the film, even though it's not of the greatest quality. But it is about like 25 minutes long. So you do get some information about the making of Basket Case 2. So it's a nice package, especially since Basket Case 2 is really hard. It's difficult to find. You're not going to find it on Blu-ray. This is going to be nice for those who are trying to hunt it down. So definitely check it out from Synapse Films. I'll put a link in the credits, or in the YouTube video page, so that you can track it down on Amazon. And like I said, let me know what you think about Basket Case 2. Please give this video a like, and then also subscribe to this page so you can see a lot more of my videos. And when I talk about some of the new releases for horror, I do it here, and I also do it on my webpage, which you can also check out, themooninsdeadworld.net. Display the credits now. And please, again, give a like, subscribe, and come follow me. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.